Thanks for joining me, Tumelo. How are you this evening?
I am good, thanks, Katu. And yourself?
No, I'm very good. I thought let's have a conversation about the fourth industrial revolution. Maybe to start off the conversation, what's in this buzzword, the fourth industrial revolution? What are we talking about when we talk fourth industrial revolution?
Maybe I should start by responding in a manner of saying what it is not. Many people, when you talk of fourth industrial revolution, they think of robots. It is not robots taking people's jobs. However, it is emerging technologies, breakthrough in technologies in different fields. These fields can include, amongst others, robotics, artificial intelligence, automation, the big data, Internet of Things. So it is about these emerging breakthroughs and how we really enhance, use them and leverage them to ensure that we create value and meaningful jobs for our people.
So with all this that you have said, maybe the question is, as a country, are we ready for this fourth industrial revolution?
We would like to say that as a country, we have started the dialogues that will prepare us and make sure that we become ready. Remember, it is not about just business, not about government. It's about the whole ecosystem, how we all come together and ensure that the country is ready. Hence, the dialogues that have started, hence the Presidential Commission, hence the 4IRSA partnership that we're seeing to make sure that we all become ready as a collective ecosystem.
You speak about the work that you do in partnership with the Presidential Commission. And maybe one of the questions that people might have out there is for us to produce the right workforce or graduates from our institutions of higher learning and all that, we have to focus on the education system. Are the conversations at the level of the Presidential Commission on the fourth industrial revolution speaking to the education system? Is the education right? If not, how do we tweak it so that it helps us to produce, graduates who have, the requisite skills and capacities to participate in the fourth industrial revolution?
Maybe just to start by correcting, the Presidential Commission has just been inaugurated recently, and I have been working mostly with the 4IRSA partnership.
Yeah.
And the 4IRSA partnership was started by business collectively with the university institutions to say, let's start this debate, let's start this dialogue, with the president last year having, said that he will look at the commission. Now the commissioners have been appointed, and the idea is to say, let's work collaboratively, taking into account what the 4IRSA has done. So that's where the correction comes in to say the commissioners have just been appointed recently. But for the 4IRSA partnership, which Deloitte has been part of, we have indeed been having these dialogues, and these dialogues have been looking really at different sectors, at different industries. And one of the things, rightfully, like you're saying, that we have been discussing in these dialogues, in these sessions, is what is the role of education. So we look at the whole ecosystem as we discuss these in relation to jobs and say, what is the role of education? What is the role of government, business, labor, youth, NGOs, religious education? So it's a whole ecosystem to say, what is everybody's role, and moreover, the education's role. So what would the education sector, what is their role in ensuring that we are able to prepare the country towards the fourth industrial revolution, and the youth moreover, like you're saying?
Yeah. Of course, when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution and its implications, the conversation largely gets to be skewed towards the young people, those who are still coming up in the system, justly so. But in the business conversations that we are having with industry, what is industry doing in order to prepare the redeployment, reskilling of the current workforce? Are companies ready to deal with the issue of those who are already in the workforce? How do we prepare them so that they are part of this future economy that we're talking about?
Interestingly, Deloitte had done a study globally on the future of work and the readiness of organizations, and not really, about only 40% say that they are ready globally. So it tells you where companies are. Also, what we are noting is that the impact of the 4IR, it's different from one industry to another. So other industries have to quickly adopt because, automation, artificial intelligence gets, to kind of be quicker for them to take into account. However, others are coming on board. So as a result, you find that it's different from one sector to the other. And also, like I've said, not all the companies are ready, per se. But what is important now is that with the dialogues, the business now is waking up to say, look, we need to have a serious look at what is the impact in our industry and what do we need to be doing to upskill, reskill, or create other opportunities for the impacted workforce where there may be those impact. So it's different options, that the organizations look at, that business look at, upskilling, retraining. But we've also seen opportunities where out of this process, businesses are saying we can even look at creating entrepreneurs out of this process where people now cannot be accommodated within the workforce. How do we empower them and find funding for them to be able to use their current knowledge to start, startups, entrepreneurship, such?
Okay, so one would assume that these conversations are involving labor, the union representations. Are those part of the conversations?
Yes, within the dialogues, within certain industries, there has been labor representatives, and they've been really been forthcoming also with their ideas and how we can be able to, educate and make aware their workforce around what are the implications of the 4IR. One of the most profound statements in one of the sessions with labor was the fact that being in those sessions, being in those dialogues, they have now become more empowered to go and talk to their workforce out there to take away this fear around, it's all about shedding of jobs and job losses, but there's also opportunities. So labor has very much also been in some of these sector dialogues.
Okay. Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. I'm Katura Mkumba. Taviso, let's say a couple of comments from social media. We have the first one here from Tabane 65023095, and it says this issue is beyond people's control. Government should just come up with a measure to regulate for the sake of the economy. And then we also got Ed Midatos, who says, I don't think you have to, but then you have absolutely no right to complain when the world moves ahead without you. Let's take a caller, and we have Jabulani from Johannesburg. Jabulani, what's your view?
Good evening, and good evening, and thanks for having me. I think what I'm just raising, there's a question that is actually raised from education perspective. So currently we've got schools that have been built. I mean, MEC, there's a school that actually introduced that is called the full capabilities of having the technology that supports the 4IR. But the question is, do our current teachers have the understanding and the knowledge in terms of how to actually utilize this functionality, in terms of actually teaching the pupils how to go about navigating in terms of the knowledge that needs to be used? That is number one. Currently in our corporate world, I'm currently in the IT section, but now we're then being moved into the approach of 4IR. So there are lessons that are being learned from LinkedIn, which are being YouTubed. So those there could be the lessons that could be actually used in classes, where a teacher would just play from the YouTube or from write through a code, and then from the teacher just listen to opening up to the pupils, and then once the pupils have actually listened and plug and play, ask the question and see whether they've understood. So the question is the government in support of what is currently happening there? And if they are in support, they need to be actually opening accounts that would actually enable the teachers and the pupils to be able to use the little that we have to prepare them for the future. That's basically my comment.
Let's continue with our conversation. My guest tonight is Tumelo Sekatso from Deloitte. She is the Director of Future Work. Some interesting views and observations there. The conversations that are happening with the stakeholders. I think the question around the readiness of the teachers to provide this education and to utilize this technology that is being provided in certain schools. Our teachers there, in the conversation that we have?
Again, it differs, looking at, the broad type of schools that we have. Some other schools are really there, they're trying, but also there's schools that don't have those facilities. To upskill their teachers. So this is where, again, from a bigger ecosystem, the government looks at ways to empower the teachers, ways to improve, how teachers engage with their learners now based on the technology and the digital literacy. But taking into account that you don't want also to create the inequities in the system and inequalities, take into account the history of our country, whereby there are schools in the rural areas, there are schools whereby it's on the other side where they can be able to do such. So it also takes into account to say we need the whole ecosystem such that we don't have situations where inequities and inequalities are created again. Hence the dialogues, to say how do we make sure that this works in a way that it doesn't create inequities or inequalities. Hence the dialogues to say, let's bring the education sector together, be it private, be it public, be it from anywhere, to come and really assist in addressing this. So it's a bigger societal issue. It's not a one-stop, upskill or train, because you need to also take into account all those other factors like your infrastructure in rural areas, broadband, technology, and like the caller have said, rightfully, the upskilling of the teachers themselves. Yeah. So there's a whole lot of things that needs to be taken into account when you talk about education, and education moreover focusing on the digital literacy and the emerging technologies that can be used in order to teach the students.
So I mean, still talking about the classroom situation, the teachers, and the education system. So I'm going through basic education system now. I'm watching this show, I'm hearing everybody talking about the fourth industrial revolution, and I'm concerned about which careers should I be looking at, which subjects should I be focusing on, choosing, so that I'm able to find work when I do finish my studies, or if I don't find work, I'm able to use my knowledge that I've gained from the schooling system to start a business that can enable me to find space in this future economy driven by 4IR.
What we are seeing as a trend that's brought by the 4th IR itself is that there's an emerging trend in terms of data-driven and machine-driven work, and also coupled with human intervention. As a result, it's redefining work from a perspective of creative thinking skills, problem-solving skills, data analysis skills, but also from a technical perspective, we're seeing also more, because of the emerging technologies, the technical skills that are required on top of your foundational literacy and numeracy skills. So your foundational numeracy and literacy skills, yes, are required, but we're seeing more and more of problem-solving skills, analytical skills, creative and innovative skills, for especially, like you're saying, for entrepreneurship. Yeah. So looking in terms of, what the artistic skills that wouldn't people look at in terms of creative thinking, they're becoming more and more important. And the emotional intelligence aspect of it, where now people have to be able to analyze problems, the things that the robots and the machines cannot do. People have got opportunity in such careers.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, with the upside of this fourth industrial revolution, surely there are also the downside of it. What would you say are the downside that comes with fourth industrial revolution for us as society?
As a society, and I'll take, for example, from the dialogues that have been had with the industries, the first downside that most of the stakeholders would say is the loss of jobs when you look in terms of work. But also what it does do is not also to be cautious of the ethical considerations also that are brought forth by 4IR and what it means for us as a society. And the third one that has been also in coming forth in the dialogues is to say we don't perpetuate the inequalities and inequities that we have seen in our society because of some people have got access, some people don't have access. So we just need, as the whole ecosystem, to ensure that as we look at how to maximize and leverage of these emerging technologies and the 4IR, that we create equalities, that we create a society where everybody can be able to use these equally and access is there for people equally, and making sure that where jobs are impacted, how do we minimize the impact for those who experience job loss.
Okay. We take an ad break now. We do take more of your calls and comments after the break. When we come back, we look at the opportunities, the upside of things. We are back. So before we went to the ad break, we spoke about the downside of the 4IR. What are the opportunities that comes with 4IR that largely young people can take and that we can all as society take advantage of?
The opportunities, firstly, there's meaningful work that's now created. Where else people sometimes had to do repetitive jobs, routine jobs, there's an opportunity now that these could be done now by machines, but then upskill people and empower people to do meaningful jobs that create the meaningful value for them and their careers, number one, in the corporates. But beyond that also, there's opportunities where people now have got knowledge, and they are no longer accommodated within the corporates. How do we empower them now to take this out, to become entrepreneurs, to create employment for others? Where you find that these youngsters, we've got this innovative, creative mindset. How do we help them now to take that and make a living out of it, to make meaningful life out of it? So there's lots of opportunities that are created. If you look at the agricultural space, again, how do you take that Baba Nkosi, who has been working on the farm for so long, has got so much knowledge. How do you enable him to become a commercial farmer through these opportunities now, where he can be able to use drones, he can be able to use machines, better tractors, to be able now to become a commercial farmer on his own. So there are those kind of opportunities that definitely can be created on the upside.
Look, well, I've spoken here about your association with the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And maybe just to share with our viewers, what is the mandate of that commission? What is it that it is expected to do in relation to the Fourth Industrial Revolution?
Like I said, I think I can talk more on behalf of 4IRSA in collaboration with that commission. So in our collaboration with that Presidential Commission is to prepare the country to start the dialogues with the whole society, business and every stakeholder to say, how do we prepare ourselves as a society and country to make sure that we are not left behind in terms of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. If you think about it, they say that it takes almost like 100 years if you left off if you are left off in the Third Industrial Revolution, it may take another 100 years for you to be able to catch up. And we are saying we cannot be left behind, especially because with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, it's more about exponential growth. It's not linear growth.
Yes.
What you have seen, taking into example just basic things like your cell phone, When it started, it would take years to have a new kind of a cell phone. But right now, it just takes another 6 months, 12 months. So you don't have much time. As a country, we have to make sure that we get ahead. So the mandate really, in terms of as we work in collaboration with the Commission, is to ensure that not only do we have these dialogues, but beyond these dialogues, how does then the country execute and make sure that it can be ready for IR as a country?
No, thank you very much, Tumelo, for giving us time and for sharing your thoughts and ideas with South Africa. I hope that our conversation tonight helps us to prepare and refocus towards the fourth industrial revolution and its impact that it will have. That's it for this edition of Let's Have It Out. Keep the conversation going on social media using the hashtag LHIO. I am Katu Ramukumba. Thank you for watching and good night.